All right, so welcome back to Taste Kitchen. And today we are going to be doing Brew School number 2, which is building some signature classic coffee drinks with a great classic cocktail mixture. And today joining me from Partners Coffee, I've got Raina, a coffee educator right out of New York. Great to have you, Raina.
Great to be here.
Okay, so Raina, tell me a little bit about what you do there at Partners. What's your gig there?
So I'm one of the educators here. So I work with our wholesale clients, our retail staff, and brew school clients. I also get the fun of making our seasonal drinks here.
Nice. So you get a chance to put a variety of different ingredients together and recipes. Do you do a lot of testing and kind of creative development there in Brew School to build products and drinks for the Partners Coffee retail stores?
Yeah, I do. It's a lot of
Okay.
fun to play around with different flavors and get to kind of curate a really great guest experience.
Great. Well, today we're going to be talking about 2 different drinks that you can make, whether you're doing this at home or if you're doing this in a restaurant or a bar. Obviously, since we are using alcohol, this is some great processes that will build you out some very cool coffee drinks for your patrons or for yourself at home. Today, I'm going to kind of walk through some of the things we did in prep for this classic coffee drink using the Negroni. First thing was we used a cold brew out of a French press. So if you don't know how to use a French press, make sure and check out Brew School number 1 because we show you exactly how to use a French press and getting the perfect coffee mixture. And we also did that with an educator there at Partners Coffee. So we built that overnight. And then the last step that we had taken with our cold brew was rather than adding our cream at night, we added our cream in the morning. So right here, the cream is fresh. It goes right into the mixture. We stir that up. And this is what you have is this great blonde cold brew sitting here ready for our coffee drink. The other thing you're going to need in terms of equipment is, of course, a great stir spoon, a standard bar spoon. We use the tweezers for garnishing, obviously your mixers, and of course your great bar measuring cups that you can use. And if you don't have these at home, and you can use just normal measuring cups. But today we'll be using those in our array. Of course, today in terms of our coffee blend, we are using Miracle on North 6th Street, which is a Partners Coffee. This is a great product too. We really love this one here, Raina. What can you tell me about this?
So this is one of our seasonal coffee blends that we have. It's something that we wanted to really bring the holiday season forward with this coffee. So it is a combination of Latin American and natural Ethiopian component that really gives these like warming spice flavors to it, almost like a mulled wine. And it does have a little bit of like orange and cinnamon like spice tones to it as well.
I like it. I think that's going to be great for what we're doing with the cold brew here today as well, along with the Negroni. Now let's talk about the Negroni itself. Now, Negroni is a classic signature cocktail that's been around for decades. Now, the reason this one is important is because this is actually a premix that if you are not a connoisseur or a mixologist of great classic cocktails, this is a great way to go. Today we're going to use this in a mixture of about 2¼ ounces versus breaking it down in the Negroni mixture that you would normally do if you were building a Negroni from scratch. So whether you're using a premix or you're using a Negroni, a standard mixture of bourbon and some of the other ingredients that you'll use there are kind of the process to do. So let's start with our mixing bin here. And we're going to use our first, how much coffee do we need in this tumbler right here, Raina?
About 1.5 ounces.
All right, so we're going to go with 1.5 ounces. We'll get that right here so everybody can kind of see how that's going to come. All right, there's our 1.5 ounce. We'll pour that into our mixer. All right. Now we're going to go to about 2¼ ounces of our premix on the Negroni. And this is, as I said, is using a Kentucky bourbon in this premix for this particular one. This is a great product too. I've used it here in studio. You can kind of see that red hue. And the reason that's important is because it's got all the right ingredients in it for a great Negroni. So you can kind of see that red tinge in that premix right there. So we're going to bring that in. All right, seal that up. And with any great cocktail, you want to get a great blend of what you're doing. So we're going to do a quick stir, and then we'll ice up our container and get our pour over that. Pretty basic. And this is an easy cocktail to make at home. So as you can kind of see, we've got a really basic blend here for our drink. We're going to garnish this with an orange peel at the last. And of course, we'll just pour that right over the drink here. It's got that beautiful orange color coming together with the coffee, and the cold brew is pulling together. Perfect topper. And voila, we will get our garnish right here. And boom, you've got a great classic cold brew coffee made with Partners North 6th Street, Miracle on North 6th Street, and using an orange, cinnamon, and malt black tasting flavor, I think is a great one for this particular drink. So this is a great drink. When you're building, Raina, when you're building these different ingredients, what is it that you look for in developing coffee recipes to make these kind of blend together so well?
Well, I think that starting off with really great coffee is the first step. But also, so if you look at the Negroni, it's like this classic 3-ingredient cocktail.
Yep.
Really much has like this combination of bitter, sweet, and rich that just seem really like riffable. Like it could work
Yep.
really well with whatever else that you would put in it. So a lot of times I do look at some classic cocktails and think that just coffee would add an extra awesome taste to it.
I like it. So the different arrays of beans that you guys offer there at Partners this time of year, if you're let's say you're a bar or a mixologist, and you're looking at the right kind of bean to use with these kinds of cocktails, are there any specific beans or roastery flavorings that you guys would recommend over at Partners beyond the Miracle on North 6th?
So a lot of times too, if you are using a cold brew concentrate, I definitely do recommend our Brooklyn blend. It is what we use in all of our cafes for cold brew as well. And it fits that ritualistic coffee flavor of like this chocolate, like toffee flavor in coffee.
Right.
So it fits very well. Different. When you're looking at different coffee regions and blends, there are different flavor profiles. So like Ethiopian coffees might be a little bit more citrusy and floral. Brazilian coffee is a little bit more chocolate nutty. So based on that type of coffee, you can kind of mess around with different recipes.
Interesting. Have you, so when you're doing brew school, do you teach drinks like this in brew school?
No, this is my first time teaching any type of alcoholic drink.
Awesome. All right. So this is kind of interesting because this is one thing that we're looking at in terms of trends around the industry. When you look at both mixologists and also inside restaurants that serve coffee, of breaking down new infusions and adding them to the menu. So we are seeing a lot more traction, especially with coffee, but also some other infusions in the beverage sector that are really coming up. Coffee, of course, is a great additive. It adds a lot of those flavor profiles that people are looking for, whether it's an after dinner drink or if it's something that you're using on, maybe a Saturday afternoon or maybe over at a brunch. This would probably be a great brunch product as well. So those are some great tips for you. One other item that we did have in the prep station here this morning, Partners was kind enough to give us a couple of recipes, and one was, and I thought this was a really basic one that could really amp up your coffee profiles and your taste, and that is using a maple sage syrup added to just a regular black coffee or espresso. And it's very easy to make. It's just a little bit of hot water. You bring that to a boil, add in some sugar, bring in your maple syrup, and then you bring in your sage and you let that steep, get it nice simmering and super hot, and then sift that sage right off the top of your syrup, and boom, you've got a great maple sage syrup that is a great coffee additive, which are great flavorings for coffee lovers like myself, I would probably use something like this for the fall. So it's for the fall. It's very easy to make, and it's super tasty. If you have not had a chance to get a maple sage syrup going, you guys got to try that at home or in your restaurant or your coffee bar as well. So Raina, let's talk about a couple of things here before we let you go. And that is when you're doing brew school, and Kerry kind of brought this up last week when we had a chance to talk to him on episode 1 of, people were really interested in the equipment that is being used and how to use it. Do you see more and more educated consumers coming in around coffee in terms of the beans themselves, to where they understand how the roasting works in the regions?
I would say that we get a variety of different people. A lot more people are interested in what they're ingesting, I think is the biggest thing. And also with specialty coffee really becoming this huge market, especially here in New York City as well.
Yeah.
People are watching our baristas brew coffee, maybe making a pour over, and they're more interested in learning about that. And there's a lot more accessibility to make better coffee at home as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love the pour over. I'm a big fan of that at home. I use that. I do the Chemex. The Mocha Pot is a great tool if you have not had a chance to use those. Obviously, the French press is still one of the classics that are being used, the one we use today. But definitely some different devices out there. But what I am finding is that the sourcing of the bean and the roasting process is becoming a big thing to me, at least when I'm going into a coffee shop now. Whether I'm out in San Francisco and going to some of the specialty shops out there or New York at places like Partners, I'm really interested in how they're procuring their bean. Can you tell us a little about how you guys go about getting your beans?
So we have a grain buyer on site, and part of his job is to travel to origin and create relationships with farmers and producers, and he curates our entire menu for us. So based on kind of seasonality, we'll kind of change what our single origin program, what coffees we might have on our menu.
Yeah.
It really is kind of always changing. But we also have our mainstay blends as well, which are coffees that will stay constant on our menu and maintain a very distinct flavor profile. There's a bunch of different ways that coffee can get flavor, origin of coffee, the environment that it grows, and even how you roast it. So it's something that we all, like in specialty coffee, are really working towards making a good product.
Yeah. Do you have customers coming in asking for certain regions that are saying, hey, I'd really like to go with a South American or an Ethiopian?
We do, yeah.
So people are getting to that stage of where they're actually asking for the region in the coffee.
Yeah. It's kind of awesome to see how much coffee has grown and how much people have gotten really interested in learning more about coffee.
I love it. Well, excellent. All right. So this, of course, has been a wrap up of our Brew School, our second episode. We're going to be doing multiple episodes here on Taste Kitchen. We're going to be bringing more coffee education right to you, whether you are a restaurant operator or you are a coffee connoisseur at home. This is going to be the series for you. Hopefully, this has been one that you are going to love in this beautiful classic cocktail that is made from nice, lovely cold brew out of Partners. So thanks for stopping in today, Raina. It's been great having you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So if you guys are watching us over on YouTube, make sure and of course subscribe, hit the bell, and also leave us some comments. We love to get feedback on Brew School and some things that maybe you would like to see here on some of our coffee education. This is the spot to do it. Also, if you have an idea for something here on Taste Kitchen, shoot us an email to producer@foodabletv.com. This is Brew School. We'll catch you on the next episode.